Having my husband on deployment or dealing with the VA, hands down, going through a deployment is way easier than dealing with the VA. In Montana, the VAs are worse. But it's a shame because we have one of the highest veteran populations in the country. My husband needs quality health care outside of the VA, so I'm not going to take no for an answer. I'm ready to climb this mountain however long it takes. There will be a change. My name is Dawn Longie, and I live in Park City, Montana. My husband and I got married in 2008, and we have 2 daughters, 11 and 7. Loren, he joined the Army in 2005. He deployed to Iraq in 2007, where he spent 15 months in Baghdad. We got married, and then he deployed to Afghanistan for a year in 2014. He got out, and we moved back to Montana. When he got back, I noticed a lot of change in him because I knew him before. There was just a different aura around him. The nightmares, waking up at night, sleeplessness, all of that definitely affected him.
It's definitely a reality check when you get there, you know, especially as soon as like things start happening. We have this guy named Kajimat in my unit. He was in Alpha Company, and I was on guard. Sorry. I can finish it. Deaths and things happen, and and just kind of reminds you that you're not invincible, and things can happen. So it's definitely joke time's definitely over, training's over. Hopefully it saves you.
When he came back, I was like, I know him, but there's something different behind his eyes, for sure. I just took it upon myself to walk him through it for however long it would take. He got connected with the VA right after he got out. He had joint pain, issues with his wrist, neck pain, elbow pain, a TBI that the VA doesn't even recognize nor has ever even asked him about, and then PTSD, mental health issues. It did not take long to realize that the VA is completely inept. This appointment was for Monday, April 24th, and I received it on April 26th.
Yeah. So they told you about the appointment after, 2 days after?
Yeah, that's pretty common.
So on my second annual checkup, my wrist had kind of started like locking up, and I didn't know why, And I was telling them about it, and they're like, oh, well, you're getting older, things kind of quit moving. And I was like, oh my God, I'm only 28.
He needed an MRI, and that took 9 years to get. The VA in Billings doesn't have an MRI machine, so they would have to refer out to community care, which they don't like to do, so it didn't happen.
9 years after the fact, I got a CT scan, and they're like, oh, you have all these tumors in your wrist. It's like they just didn't listen to me. Like, should I have to scream at you so you can put like more of your poster boards of don't bully our staff? Well, you have to. You don't listen if you don't,
That poster boards the same.
Oh, all over, like, well, you're not listening. Of course we're gonna get upset.
A lot of the time they will send people to Salt Lake, Denver, Seattle, anywhere else except their own community where we have just as good of health care, if not better. They rejected his PTSD claim. They wanted him to go through every single death that happened on the deployment he was on. They gave 3 lines for that in the form that they wanted him to fill out. She wrote down a couple of the deaths, and then on the 3rd line wrote too many to list.
I've seen women get beat in the streets. I've seen kids get their hands cut off for stealing apples. I started seeing a counselor for post-traumatic stress. Then he canceled an appointment, and then the next one I showed up and he didn't show up, and then they just never scheduled another one. So I was like, well, if they don't care, whatever, I don't care.
I would say that it's worked to their advantage that soldiers are so disciplined and so humble and have really been taught to be quiet about their problems. My husband, who fought so hard for this country, was not getting even the most basic things. It just didn't seem fair. After about 10 years of them just pushing him aside, neglecting him, I realized it was something I was going to have to help him through on my own to find the paths forward for all of us to find healing. I heard about Concerned Veterans for America through the radio. I heard a member from CVA speaking about VA fails, and I texted him that day and met with him, and he educated me on all the rights that we actually do have within the VA. He's the one that told me, your husband has the right to get care in the community for all of those things. And I remember looking at him saying, no, you're wrong about that, because they would have told us. Like, I did not believe that the VA would go out of their way to suppress care for my husband. Like, that's a really hard thing to wrap your mind around. Currently, for a veteran to get a referral outside of the VA, the process can be a full-time job to get that referral pushed through. Once I realized that I had every right to get him community care, I called them every day. I made them follow their own rules.
Without community care, I wouldn't be getting the mental health help that I had been needing for years. I was on the brink of exploding.
I told Chris that day that I met him, I said, I work for you now. I'm a grassroots engagement director, so my job is to build a community of people who are interested in fighting for veterans' healthcare rights. The main issue is that from the top down, the VA is protecting the VA and not taking care of the veterans. The VA needs to not be the only option for veterans. The path forward is opening up healthcare for veterans to be able to choose where they want to get care, by who. There would be control put into the veterans' hands. I plan to advocate for veterans and their families in the future through my work with CVA by pushing policies and legislation through that we know will help veterans get choice in their healthcare. One of my main goals for my husband was to get him on that path of healing. And mainly that was for my girls, so that they have the man that I know, that they have a father that is going to be there for them like he is able to be now.
Dawn is like a veteran advocate, supergiant, you know. If it wasn't for her, I would have downward spiraled out of control and lost everything I have. I wouldn't be where I'm at right now without her.
There's a lot of healing that still needs to be done, but we're on the right path. I'm ready to walk the path however long it is. My husband has always been a huge source of inspiration. He's been through so much and he's never quit. So if he's not going to, I'm not going to.